Hi guys, welcome to this lecture for Introduction to Programming Concepts. So far everything we've dealt with has been very sequential. So what if we want to do something over and over, basically repeat something? Well, with our current understanding we'd have to copy and paste that code over and over. But that's going to get quite messy, you know. And, if we don't know how many times something needs to run, that could be another problem. So what we need is some kind of construct or way to repeat sections of code. And that's what brings us to iteration, or looping in this case. So all loops repeat based on this idea of a condition. And the condition is really the key to all of this, because it determines how many times the loop's going to run. We have three main loops: while loops, do while loops, and for loops. And what we're going to do is go through all of them and kind of discuss the differences between them. I'm going to start out with the while loop. So how do we write a while loop? It's very simple. It's just while the condition in brackets. That's any Boolean logical condition. So we just open the bracket, we have the true section for the code, and then we close the bracket. So an example here, we start out with printf, so we're asking the user to enter in a number, reading in a value using scanf, while that value is of I is less than 5, opening up our bracket, printing out the value of I to the screen, and closing the bracket off. So we run through the code line by line, start with enter a number, so that puts enter a number to our terminal, type in a value here to read in, so we're assuming we've already got I set up in memory like this. Type in 2, so 2 gets put into our value for I. While 2 is less than 5, we enter into a bracket. So we're entering the loop because that condition is true. Now we're going to print the value of I out to the screen, which is 2. Closing the bracket off. And that closed bracket means we jump back up to the beginning while statement. And we check again. So now we check if I is less than 5. And since I is 2, 2 is less than 5. That's still true. We enter the loop, print out the value of I again, go to the bottom. Now this closed bracket once again means jump back up to the top. So once again we check, is I's value less than 5? Since I is still 2, we're opening the bracket up, entering the loop, printing out the value again, closing off, which once again says jump back up to the top. And we check, yes, 2 is less than 5, we enter it again, print 2 out to the screen, hit the close bracket, jump back up to the top. So something's wrong here. Basically what we're stuck in is an infinite loop, which means the loop is going on and on and on and on forever. It's never going to stop. So infinite loops we need to watch out for. An infinite loop is basically anything that's going to repeat over and over and never stop. Loops either never change or it's moving away from the condition. For example, if it's checking while x is less than 0 and you keep making it smaller by subtracting a value away from x, then it's going to run forever because x is always going to be less than 0. So we need to change the variable so that it's always going to work towards the condition. So our next example of a while loop, we're going to enter a number, then we're going to read in a value, and we're going to check if that value is less than 5, same as last time, print out the value to the screen. We're going to add 1 this time by going I++, and now we're going to close that bracket off. So we run through this code, enter in a number, gets printed out to the screen, scanf for reading in a value, this time we're going to assume I is set up for us. So we get now 2 is what we've entered, so 2 gets stored into I. So now we go down and check if I's value is less than 5, in which case 2 is less than 5, so it's true. We enter into the loop because it is true. Now we check, the printf value out to the screen, so put 2 out to the screen. Now we do I++, that adds 1 to I to make it 3, hits the bottom bracket, and we loop back around to the top. So now we check if 3 is less than 5, which it is. So we print out the value of I to the screen, do I++, which makes it 4, hit the bottom bracket, jump up to the top again, and now we check if 4 is less than 5. So we enter it again, because 4 is less than 5, print out 4 to the screen, I++ makes it 5, hits the bottom bracket, it jumps back up to the top, and now we say, okay, is 5 less than 5? No, it's not. So we're at the stage now where this condition is false, which means we have to exit the loop. So we jump down to the next line after that bracket, whatever it is. It could be return 0, printf, whatever. So we're going through another example now. So exact same code, but we're going to enter in a value. We're going to try a different number this time. We're going to try the value of 10. So we set up our I in memory. We type in 10, which gets stored into I. So now we check if 10 is less than 5. Well, 10's not less than 5. It's actually false to begin with. So we jump over the loop entirely and do whatever's next. So the entire loop is ignored. So the loop actually didn't run at all that time. So while loops can actually run 0 times. It's possible for them to not run at all because this condition determines how many times it runs. It's also possible for a while loop to run forever. So we say while loops run from 0 to infinity times. So now we look at the do while loop. How to write a do while loop. We start out with do, we open the bracket, do our true code, whatever that may be, close the bracket, then we have a while condition on the end there. So this time the while condition is actually at the very end. It's the last thing we do. So an example of a do while loop. So we go printf, enter a number, scanf, read that in. This time we go do, open bracket, print out the value of the screen, we do I++, and we check while I is less than 5. Enter a number, read the value for I. So we're assuming once again I has already been declared and is set up in memory. Type in 2, we read that in, we enter our loop, print out I's value to the screen, which is 2, do I++ to make it 3. We now check if 3 is less than 5, which it is, so we read in a loop. Print out I's value to the screen, I++, make it 4. Is 4 less than 5? Yes. So we loop back around to the top, open the bracket. Printf, print out the value of I, which is 4, I++ to make it 5, and now 5 is no longer less than 5, so we exit the loop, because that condition is now false. So in this instance, it's very similar to a while loop, the do while loop, except we're doing the condition check at the end. Now example 2 here will show how it is very different. So we enter in a number. This time we're going to try a different value again. We're going to try 10. Once again, assuming I is already set up in memory, we type in 10. It's going to store that for us. We enter the do, which says, yep, do the loop. So we print out I's value to the screen. So we print out 10. Then we go I++ to make it 11. And now we check if 11 is less than 5, which it isn't. So that's false, means we exit the loop. So notice how the do while loop, even though we had a false condition, because the check is at the end, we still run through the entire loop at least once. So this means, yeah, the loop runs at least once, and it's possible for the loop to run forever, basically infinitely. So do while loops we say to run from 1 to infinity times. So anywhere from that range from 1 up to infinity is the amount of times the do while loop will run. Now we're looking at the for loop. How do we write a for loop? We start out with for, we do the initialization, a semicolon, then our condition, another semicolon, then the update. So how we're going to update our variable. We just open a bracket, do whatever we want, which is true for that condition, close the bracket off. So here we have int I, so we're creating our variable I, we're setting up our for loop, opening the bracket, printing our value out to the screen, closing the bracket. So int I says create a variable called I in memory, storing an integer. Then we go and we go into our for loop. So the first thing, because we're coming from the top, we have to do our initialization, so I equals 0. So we set our value of I to 0, then we go across and check if our initial value is valid for our condition. Since 0 is less than 5, it's valid, so we're going to enter into the loop. So now we print out a value of I to the screen, so 0 goes to the screen, close the bracket off, which means we loop back around to the top. Because we're coming from the bottom, we come into the back of our for loop condition, so we go I++. We have to do this update, which makes it 1. So now we check if our new value of I is less than 5, which it is, so we enter the loop again, print out our new value for I, 1, close the bracket, so we jump back up. Once again, we do our update, so I++ to make it 2. 2 is less than 5, so we enter the loop again. Hit the bottom bracket, we loop around to the top, once again do our update, I++ to make it 3. We check if that new I value is less than 5, it is, so we enter the loop. Print out the value of 3 to the screen, hit the close bracket, we jump back up to the top. Once again, because we came from the bottom, we do I++, we do our update, check if that new value is less than 5, 4 is less than 5, so it's true, we enter the loop. We print the value of I out to the screen, so 4, hit the close bracket, jump back up to the top. Now we do I++ again, to make i's value 5. We check the condition if 5 is less than 5. In this case, that's now false. So we jump over the whole thing and exit the loop entirely. So for loops we know now run a set number of times. That's how they're different from the other ones. We say they run n times.